From bankruptcy to tax evasion and fraud, Todd and Julie Chrisley have been riddled with scandals. And since USA Network had to cancel Chrisley Knows Best after the heads of the household were convicted on multiple charges, there seems to have been a change. Todd Chrisley's Wikipedia page now lists him as a celebrity and a convicted fraudster. When Chrisley Knows Best started airing on USA Network back in 2014, critics called it the next Here Comes Honey Boo Boo. That is, just your usual wacky and somewhat obnoxious family going through their everyday lives in a way that wasn't real per se, but it made for good television. It really did make for a good time. The series successfully ran for 8 seasons, until of course the network had to pull the plug following Todd and Julie's grand jury indictment of a combined 19 years in prison. So yeah, the Chrisleys, ironically enough, did not know what was best. Todd was given a sentence of 12 years and Julie was sentenced to 7 years in federal prison. And I know what you're thinking. What could they have done for such a harsh sentence? The punishment begs the sentence, isn't that right? And when you've been convicted of conspiracy to commit tax fraud of upwards of $30 million, yeah, you'd probably be in prison for a long time. That and the fact that Todd was a repeat offender. Let me walk you through it. Todd and a former business associate had managed to swindle community banks in Atlanta out of millions of dollars back in 2013. A year before the series had started filming, the head of the Chrisley household walked away with $20 million and spent it all to fund a lavish lifestyle. The fanciest cars, homes, and all the designer wear money could buy. But then again, it wasn't his money to spend. And when the feds caught on, Todd declared bankruptcy. Essentially, he made away with $20 million nearly scotch-free. While the bankruptcy filings were going on, that is, Todd was claiming he absolutely couldn't pay back the $20 million. His wife, Julie, took out loans from the bank with fraudulent documents. She used that money to continue on funding their lifestyle. In simpler terms, the Chrisleys didn't have the money that they were spending. Now, the next question is sort of an obvious one. Didn't they make enough money from the show? During its run from 2014 until 2022, for 9 seasons and 197 episodes, Chrisley Knows Best was one of the most popular reality series on USA Network. Sure, Todd and Julie didn't start off with a lot of their own money in the bank, but surely they had enough of it to now pay back Todd's income taxes and just move on with their lives, right? Yes and no. Yes, they did have the money, but no, they didn't want to spend it on something as silly as giving back the money that they stole. So instead, what they did was they started operating a loan-out company. That is, they reported all the money that they made from the show and other ventures as the money they had made from the company, and the bank accounts from this company were in Julie's name. Had they been in Todd's name, the IRS would have come after him and deducted the money he owed in income taxes from his accounts. They did for a while have a sense that something illegal was going on, but right when they asked the Chrisleys for documents showing ownership of the accounts, they transferred them into Todd's mother's name. Besides this, their accountant, Peter Tarantino, was also involved in trying to default the U.S. government. Really was a family affair. It pretty much becomes a full circle moment when you think of it, because back when the series started filming, Julie said the family had to be careful. Now, did she mean that as a concerned mother who was about to showcase her and her family's lives on national television? Or did she mean that in the sense that she was committing bank fraud and tax evasion? Probably a little of both.
Shaking it for dollar bills.
No, I ain't shaking it for dollar bills.
The case against the Chrisleys started in 2019, and the heads of the household actually turned themselves in after news of their fraudulent activities made it all over the internet. I'd like to think that their walking into the police station was less noble and more so just something they could cash in on later. Like, we turned ourselves in, so we obviously have nothing to hide. A pretty clear maneuver if you think about it, because it worked. The Chrisleys were released released back on a $100,000 bond and were given strict instructions not to leave their homes unless it was for work, medical appointments, or emergencies. A low-budget house arrest, if you will. In any event, they were back just in time to film another season of Chrisley Knows Best and wrap up the 4th season of Growing Up Chrisley. Todd was even set to host a brand new reality series, Love Limo. Things were actually looking good for the family again. They tried to keep the negative press at bay and focus on rebuilding their homely, all-American family brand image. It worked well for a while, but then a federal judge found them guilty of tax evasion, wire fraud, and bank fraud, and they've been in prison ever since. Had the Chrisleys starred in a fictional series, this would have been the perfect end to the series. The extravagant, flamboyant real estate mogul with a criminal past finally has his comeuppance and ends up in prison. So does his wife, who supported him as a willing accomplice in his illegal activities. It would have been the perfect end to the series, but Chrisley Knows Best was a reality series, and the sentence is very real. Todd and Julie started out their respective sentences on January 17, 2023. And while I get that the parents had it coming for them, they really should have done better about being law-abiding citizens. It did hit their kids pretty hard, especially Savannah. Todd and Julie's eldest daughter says she can't see herself being married without her parents being there. In a kind of like a will they, won't they situation, the Chrisleys have been battling against the charges for over 2 years now, and the Chrisley kids claim that they had made their peace with their parents' sentencing. Chase and Savannah, the oldest of the pair's children, claim that they sat together, discussed it, and cried about it as a family. But that's not to say that it wasn't hard. Savannah, who's probably the most outspoken of the bunch, has been keeping quiet about the whole situation. But almost a week after her parents' sentencing, she's admitted it's been difficult.
No, I'm your favorite.
Yes.
I don't even like my kids happy.
Go look at his social media. That's all I have to say.
Sure, 2 years is a pretty long time to come to terms with the court's ruling, but did anyone really see this coming? Todd's ex-wife did. The Chrisleys have been very public with their family drama, obviously, since that's how they made their living. But a topic Todd hasn't really touched much on is that of his ex-wife, Teresa Terry. Maybe because she's accused him of being a violent and terrorizing person. Teresa claims that she's been trying to inform people of her ex-husband's violent tendencies and his propensity to commit crimes for a long time now. She also claims that Todd had, on multiple occasions, intimidated her with a knife, ripped apart her clothes, and cheated on her with Julie throughout their 4-year marriage. But no one's ever really listened to her. She claims that this was because her former husband, his current wife, and all the executives at USA Network made sure that the Chrisleys never faced any bad press. After all, they were supposed to be the perfect American family. Kind of ironic, right? That's all for the Chrisleys. See you in the next video.